Tonight on The Local Live, the Mamaroneck School Board reveals a smaller bond for repairs and new initiatives. County legislators mandate paid sick leave. See how children in schools can reduce food waste. And on tonight's roundtable, the Community Resource Center advocates for more access to driver's licenses via the Greenlight NY initiative. Good evening, it's Thursday, October 4th. I'm Alexandra Garcia and welcome to The Local Live. Roads ripped up in Larchmont, that's Con Ed replacing old leak-prone lead gas pipes with polyethylene plastic.
I just wanted to let you know that New York State Public Service Commission has required that Con Ed replace 20 miles of gas mains every year. And I also wanted to let you know that something I found out just today is that anytime a gas main is exposed, so if we go out to fix a water leak and in exposing the water main, we also expose the gas main, Con Ed then is required to come and replace that main because it's now been dug up and exposed. So there's actually a lot of activity going on in our roadways. The bright side of that, well, there's two bright sides. One, we get new gas mains, and that's a safer situation for us. And also, Con Edison has an agreement with us to provide the funding required to repave the road. Depending on the road and what work's been done, it's possibly to the center line. Sometimes it's curb to curb. So a lot of the roads where work has been done really were ready for repaving anyway, and now it's going to be paid for by Con Ed.
The Mamaroneck School Board on Tuesday mulled revised recommendations for its proposed capital bond. The total is $49 million, or $6 million less than last month.
So the total reductions are $4.6 million, which brings our revised recommendations to $49.7 million. We did not have do all the bond calculations, but it will end up reducing the annual debt service by about $450,000 per year, or on an average home in the district by $60 per year.
Installing central air conditioning at Chatsworth and Murray auditoriums are still within the revised recommendations, but not included is the cost estimate of upgrading air conditioning in all instructional spaces at all 6 schools, which is more than $60 million. The estimate includes the electrical upgrades and wiring required for air conditioning, which is deemed less intrusive to installing window AC units.
Point of clarification, this is not, you can't, $60 million is a huge number to do this throughout the district. It is not as easy as, my understanding is that it's not as easy as buying, units from Home Depot and putting them in all the windows.
This would be so disruptive. It would be major construction.
It's also very inefficient to just put window air conditioners in all the classrooms.
Of course.
It's much more efficient from an energy aspect to have central air conditioning, a central plant, like we do here at the high school, that we can air condition large areas, but to put window air conditioners in every classroom, they then have to get either taken out in the winter because the cold air will come rushing in. Right. It's just not very efficient.
Town of Mamaroneck has adopted the revised sexual harassment policy that will go into effect October 9th. Under the new policy, the New York State Labor requires that all employers provide sexual harassment training annually, give a written non-harassment policy to all employees, and develop and publish a standard complaint form to be used by employees when submitting a sexual harassment claim to their employer. Workers will earn sick leave thanks to a bill passed Monday night by the Westchester County Board of Legislators.
Bill that makes a lot of common sense. As we know, 36% of workers in Westchester County right now do not have the opportunity to take off when they are ill without facing potential financial penalty. This piece of legislation is a very practical, very cost-effective way to make sure that when people are sick, they are not required to come into work or face being fired if they work for an employer who has 5 or fewer employees, and also that they can accrue time to get paid for their sick time the way the vast majority of Westchester County workers have. Loss of productivity, staff turnover, and training time associated with not allowing their employees to take off when they are ill or not paying their employees to take off when they are ill, it winds up being basically a financial wash. The interesting thing when we started to dive into the statistics is that the people who are least likely to have this benefit are the people who deal directly with the public or with vulnerable populations. So people who work in retail, people who work in food service, and we don't need to go into more disgusting details about how you want someone who has the flu to not come and serve you lunch. People who work with sick and elderly as home health aides, people who work with children, and how that has a ripple effect in families. So we're very proud.
Under the bill, employees will earn 1 hour of sick time for every 30 hours worked and up to 40 hours per year. The law provides a floor to the amount of paid leave employers must offer, but there is no limit. It will extend coverage to more than 1/3 of Westchester workers who now have no paid sick leave. On Monday night, county legislators also voted to ban conversion therapy for minors in Westchester. The measure will end the controversial practice that aims to change a patient's sexual orientation or gender identity. Conversion therapy has been discredited and denounced by most leading American health agencies. The measure now awaits the signature of County Executive George Latimer to make it law. And now Sibylla Chipaziwa looks into the Green Light NY initiative in tonight's roundtable.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's roundtable. I'm Sibylla Chipaziwa, your host. With 1/4 of its population being Hispanic, the village of Mamaroneck followed Ossining and Port Chester last year in supporting the Green Light NY initiative. Green Light aims to give immigrants access to a driver's license regardless of one's immigration status. This will give immigrants access to better jobs, increased road and public safety, and access to insurance, among other things. Tonight, I am joined by 2 members from the Community Resource Center in Mamaroneck, Girandi Martinez, the Executive Director, and Kevin Duarte, the organizer of the CRC Workers Center. We are also joined by Ossining Mayor, Victoria Garrity. Please join in the conversation. The information should be on your screen now. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
So, can you give us a little history about the Green Light initiative?
Sure. So like you said, the Green Light Initiative, the Green Light New York initiative is a statewide campaign that is providing access to people to get driver's licenses regardless of immigration status. And obviously that's really important for our communities. So it's a lot of different advocates and a lot of different organizations are involved and elected officials who are trying to get it passed across New York State. So Community Resource Center and here in Mamaroneck, we got really involved with the initiative last year because we realized that it was an incredibly important point for our folks to be able to apply for driver's licenses because they're driving anyway. And, we want, given the political administration, we want to limit the kind of stop and detention if you are driving without a driver's license. We want to promote public safety. We want to make sure that everybody has insurance and has a registered car and is just safe. So we got really involved. We had community members sign petitions. We had about 300 petitions. And then we went to the Village Board of Trustees meeting in 2017 in January, presented the petitions and presented on what Green Light New York really meant, the campaign. And luckily, a resolution was passed in support of the driver's licenses campaign. Now, as we were kind of just chatting before, this is a support resolution. It does not mean that now in Mamaroneck you can drive without a license and you're going to be okay. It's really a statewide initiative. And the point of why we keep talking about this is because we want the momentum to continue, and we want all of Westchester to support Green Light campaign, and then the rest. And of course, it's statewide. It's happening all over, that the people are coming out and really understanding what it means and why we need it to get passed.
So, Victoria, can you tell us about what happened in Ossining, and I guess why also Ossining decided to hop on the bandwagon, if you will?
Sure. Well, it came to us from community members. We have more than half of our population is Latino, and obviously some of our residents are documented and some are undocumented, and most families, or many families, have mixed documentation status within them. So it's a concern for a large number of people in our community. And so it was brought to our attention as something that we could do to try and be helpful and supportive of people in our community. It's something tangible, because immigration policies, and we passed ours in 2016, and obviously there is a change in administration coming in Washington, and that was very jarring for our community. And we're so removed from the decision making about immigration policy on a federal level that we feel really. Our hands are tied. There's so little we can do in a really direct way to help our community members who are experiencing so much fear and really legitimate fear about just what's going to happen to them and their family members, what could happen. And so if there's one tangible hands-on thing that we can do as a local community, that's advocate for people to be able to get their children to school, get themselves to work, just be able to have the economic freedom and flexibility that comes with an upwardly mobile, stable family life. And so we may not have a direct line to what's happening in Washington, D.C., but we all know our state representatives. And we all know our assembly people and our senators. And it's really important that different levels of government work together as much as we can. We each have our own responsibilities and duties, but where one ends, the next begins. And so we need to be communicating with each other. And the reality is, it's any topic related to immigration, any subject, any potential initiative related to immigration is going to elicit a response. And right now, it's really a lightning rod. And anything that we can do in Westchester communities where we have a good relationship with our representatives and we have a large immigrant population that we are very connected with and are understanding the needs of more than perhaps some upstate representatives, anything that we can do to make it easier for our representatives to say to their colleagues, look, this really matters. This matters in my community, probably doesn't matter that much in your community. Come along with me because this is going to make a difference to the economic stability of families that I represent.
Okay. Kevin, what role does the Workers Center have to do with this initiative?
So we mentioned a little bit the right to work, the right to economic mobility, and upward mobility as well for a lot of families. And at the Workers Center, part of my role is to actually help people look for work and become job ready. So it's a little bit of workforce development. And part of my challenge there is that a lot of people physically cannot get to those jobs. And other people do, but they take the risk every single day of driving without the license. And so when I look at it from the perspective of the Workers Center, even if you want to ignore the humanity or the human element for 5 minutes, when you look at it from just a labor and economic perspective, it makes complete sense because you will pass more licenses, which is fees to the DMV. You will get more people insured, which is money to the insurance companies. You will ensure that everyone is insured, that basically give no excuse for not having insurance, which is better for every driver on the road. And you also, more importantly, allow freedom in a country that is so proud of the freedoms that we enjoy that other countries may not enjoy. This is a fundamental freedom, like to drive. That's something that most Americans don't even think twice about. It's something that a lot of us do take for granted. And for some families, including my own, that's something that affects you every single day. And for me personally, it was very scary driving without a license. I used to. I am a DACA beneficiary, so I don't need to anymore. I do get a license in New York State. But once upon a time, I didn't. I just drove, and I would do it to pick up my mother from work because like I wasn't gonna let her take the bus on a rainy, snowy day. Like, duh. I don't think anyone would in their right mind. You know, and so when you look at it from the economic perspective, it makes sense because, right, I'm going to go out, pick up my mom, I'm going to need insurance, I'm going to need to burn some fuel. And when you look at it from the human perspective, it just, I don't know, I find it makes overwhelming sense to just pass this resolution and to be in support of this.
I think also just living in a place like Westchester, it really does help to have a vehicle. It's not like, you know, in the city where they run pretty late into the night or really early into the morning, public transport. Okay, we will be right back to continue the discussion after this message.
Do you know how to request our services? Just go to lmctv.org. Under the service banner, click Forms. In our Forms section, you can apply to be a volunteer, learn about membership, learn about corporate underwriting, request a bulletin board, coverage, DVD dubs, equipment, and PSAs. It's all a click away at lmctv.org.
And we are back at the Greenlight NY Initiative Roundtable. Again, you can participate in the conversation by calling in or tweeting us or even sending us a quick email. We're going to jump right back into the discussion. Girandia and Victoria, I guess, you know, you can take turns answering this. You mentioned, you know, having community support to drive, you know, to, I guess, bring up attention from local governments to, you know, put this forward in the communities. I mean, can you take us back to that night when, you know, even the proclamation from former Norman Rosenblum was read out? And I guess just the community feeling. I feel like we talk a lot about community and how it drives, or, you know, attempts to drive change, if you will. Yes, so I guess, was it some sort of validation that, you know, people were heard? And obviously it is, like, you know, Kevin was saying, it's kind of important and it is a necessity.
Yeah.
And to not be insured, to not have a license on top of that, it's kind of risky, so.
No, it's true. It actually, last year, it was the first kind of initiative or campaign that our community members really led by themselves because they felt so passionately about it. I mean, we had some leaders in the community just go out and get those 300 petitions. We did some support, but it was really grassroots and community led. So I think it was really gratifying for us to say, hey, like, we took you, we got all these petitions, and our voices were heard, and the resolution was passed. And they were hungry for more. Like, what else can we do to get this passed everywhere else? I think what was challenging for us is that, you know, it is 42 different or other just jurisdictions, so you have to contact all these other mayors and communities and chief of police to support it. And then the initiative kind of lost a little bit of momentum, but now we're happy that it's kind of picking up a little bit more, and that we want to increase support and resolution for the people who are doing it up in Syracuse and Rochester and Buffalo. And I mean, honestly, like, we think transportation is difficult here. Imagine upstate. And let's get on board. Our neighbors in Vermont and Connecticut are doing it. Why don't we have it? It doesn't make any sense. Okay.
I'm glad you mentioned that because for a lot of the people who are concerned about it or raise questions about it that I hear from in Ossining, they don't realize that we really wouldn't be blazing any trails here. There are already a dozen states that have, regardless of documentation status, all drivers have access to be able to get licensed. And it's Kevin, you spoke about it a little bit before, but for many people in law enforcement who are thinking about this, whose communities are really rising up and saying this is something that matters to us, including in Ossining, we've been talking about it. Really, we passed our resolution a month after the election because there was so much fear that immediately rose up in our community. We need to say something because passing that resolution is a message to Albany to do something, but it's also a message to our community that we share their concern. But law enforcement, they want everybody who's driving a vehicle to know all the rules of the road, not just to be insured, but to have the same preparation to be able to when they go out onto the roads. And it takes a lot. If you have a traffic stop and somebody doesn't have a license, it actually just takes a lot more time to process it. So just from a functionality perspective, and if you mentioned if you take the humanity out of it for a moment, if that's not even your concern, from the perspective of how our local government functions for the benefit and our law enforcement functions for the benefit of the whole community, if there is a large portion of our community that is scared to seek help, if a crime has been committed against them or something that they've witnessed, if they don't feel safe to be able to help with an investigation, that makes the whole community much less safe. So every time we have an opportunity on a local level to reinforce to our community, we are not the immigration authority. We are here to protect the people of the village of Ossining, and I'm sure that other municipalities have tried to express similar sentiments. It's a very hard message to get through on a local level, because on a federal level, that it's, obviously the most frightening things that we see are the videos of families who are being separated down at the border and also right here in our communities. And it's tough to be able to break through and have a differing message that says, you know what, law enforcement on a local level is not the same thing as federal immigration authorities. We really do need you to come to us for help. Our interest is not in your documentation status. Our interest is making sure that you're as safe in our community as you can be. And that's for your safety and for your neighbors and for the whole community.
Jirani and Kevin, she spoke about law enforcement in Ossining. What are your thoughts, especially since the proclamation on, authorities here in Mamaroneck regarding immigrants who may be undocumented?
I don't want to speak too much, but I do understand that the police chief of Mamaroneck is on board with Greenlight. I know that he's kind of okay with the idea for the same reasons, right? It makes everyone safer. And we know for a fact that in states that have passed a similar, measure of Greenlight or license for all type of initiative, like in Connecticut, for example, we have seen, like on the literal streets, that people feel more encouraged and more willing to call 911 or even to participate or cooperate in an investigation. Because a lot of people, the police will come to your door and, like the mayor just told us, like a lot of people don't really differentiate between like what is the federal, like someone like me can differentiate, okay, there's ICE, there's ATF, there's the local police, there's Westchester County, there's state, like we can talk about these things. A lot of people, it's
authority and uniform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's one and the same.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's very important that police forces are on board. And I think it's a very good moment. It's a very powerful solidarity from police, because it tells people, we're not here to arrest you, kind of like the federal government is enticing us to do it. We're actually here to protect the whole community and to represent the whole community. And in Ossining, that speaks largely to an Ecuadorian community. In Mamaroneck, we have a lot of people from Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. Port Chester, again, a lot of Ecuadorians. So, there's a lot of Latino communities who feel, quite frankly, attacked and are attacked by the federal government. And I think that the solidarity from the police is very important.
Right. We will take one more break and we'll be right back.
Did you know that if you missed the last government meeting, you can watch it on our website? Just go to lmctv.org, click on videos, then click on municipal meetings, scroll down to find the meeting you want, or use the search function in the upper right corner and type in the name or date of the meeting. Then watch. You can see the full agenda and jump to a specific agenda item. It's all a click away at lmctv.org.
We are back discussing the Greenlight NY initiative. We have a question. Do any of you have an idea of what Governor Andrew Cuomo's position is on this initiative, and would you like to share your thoughts?
You want to take that?
Go ahead, Jondi.
Okay. Well, I was wondering if you could take it, because you may know. So Kevin and Mayor Garrity have actually been on conversations a lot more in terms of the campaign and where it is now.
Sure.
So
well, I have not heard him say that he is supportive of it. However, about a month ago, Kathy Hochul participated in a debate, and she stated that both she and Governor Cuomo are supportive of the legislation. And that is critically important. That was how it got derailed under Governor Spitzer a few years back. And this election, November 6th, will be really, really instrumental in determining this legislation. In fact, in some races where it's there's some contentious races, this is a topic that's being brought up. I understand they said it's the number 2 topic that gets brought up, that to be a divisive topic. It's a wedge issue in some races. I mean, we're not seeing that in our district, but in some districts they might be. And so we hope that Governor Cuomo would actually follow through with that if it's brought to him. But really it has to get through. The Assembly has been supportive of it. It's really what's going to happen in those Senate races. It's so close to having Democratic leadership, and we'll find out after November 6th if it's reintroduced in the new year, the likelihood of it being passed.
Yeah. Again, going back to the atmosphere, when President Donald Trump became president-elect and, these things were moving forward or, becoming a hot topic and people being aware in the communities. I think you mentioned that there was a bit of a lull after the fact in, pushing the initiative forward. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, and why has it picked up again, you think? And what are, what is Austining doing? Does it have a similar body like the Community Resource Center? And I know, Kevin, you mentioned what you do with the Workers Center, but what is CRC doing as a whole?
Sure. So, I mean, we got the resolution passed, and it was really, because it was such a scary time, we were really happy to get the resolution passed. And then the lull was because it was really political. The Assembly passed it, then it didn't go anywhere, and that's why we were just like, what do we do? But now it's back in, and it's gotten further this time around. There's a new there's a new senator and co-sponsors who now have it. So we really want to continue to push it, and that's why this election is so critically important. And I think just, the people are still scared. That fear hasn't gone away, and it's getting worse because we're seeing, even though in this community we support the Green Light Resolution, you have to go from one community to another just to get to work or to school. You pass through all these communities, so people are still getting stopped, and then they don't have driver's licenses, and then that leads to an arrest, and that could possibly lead to deportation. So what we want to do is stop the pipeline to deportation. This is really affecting, and it's affecting us at all levels, but driver's licenses is one of them. So for sure, that's why we have to pick it up again, and it's so critically important. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it, to get information passed, and we're not going to stop. And also why we hired Kevin to organize.
Yeah, I also think that, again, I've also never heard the governor himself actually say that he will, but I'm pretty sure that Lieutenant Governor Hochul has actually said that what they want to do is sign it. They don't want to, because it's such a wedge issue kind of right now, they want to sign it by, legislation, not to pass it through executive order. So kind of, this is kind of our trying to pick up the steams to get this to the governor's desk so that he can sign it.
Yes.
We hope that when they go back into session in January, that this is going to be one of the pieces of legislation that moves through the Assembly and the Senate to get to the governor.
Right.
But right now, it is important that people vote, and New York State has a big lead time. So if you are not registered to vote, you only have until October 12th.
Yes.
Correct.
So if you're a first-time voter or you need to update your voter registration because you recently moved, please go to the Westchester Board of Election, get yourself up to date. Or you can apply for an absentee ballot if you're going to be out of town on November 6th.
Yes.
That is Friday, October 12th, the deadline to register to vote. And sorry, you were going to say?
Well, I was also going to say, call and email your elected officials. Let them know that they should be passing a resolution in support of Green Light New York. And, as much as you can, tell your children, everybody should be involved, because it's a public safety issue. It's not just an immigration issue and we want to protect our families. It's a public safety issue. So if that's what you're passionate about, keep us all safe.
What else? Oh, sorry.
And one thing I do want to hammer in is, I think we've said it already quite eloquently, but I'll reiterate it again, is to get out and actually vote. Because remember that Green Light New York is intended for people who, by default, do not have the right to vote. I, again, am undocumented. I have DACA, and I cannot vote. So in theory, if DACA goes away, because it's kind of up in the air, it's been up in the air for the past, I don't know how many months, right? If DACA goes away, I lose my license. I don't think that I've done anything terribly stupid or horrible to have deserved to lose it.
Right.
And I consider that a lot of people also deserve to be able to drive in peace. So it is important to get out and vote, in favor of people who can't do it themselves, who don't have that right.
Where can people get more information on the initiative?
Why don't they contact you, Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Contact Kevin at the Community Resource Center. Your email is?
KDUARTE@crcny.org.
And then
phone number.
Oh yeah, phone number as well.
And the phone number is 914-630-7022. That is a direct line to the Worker Center where I work.
And we are also planning a community education and advocacy meeting to be held shortly after Thanksgiving. So we'll know what the landscape of the legislature is going to look like next year, and it'll be an opportunity for us to be able to share this kind of information and with an understanding of the supporters and advocates and their priorities from all levels of government across the county.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll share the details with you as soon as we have those.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much. We'd be more than happy to spread the word. Thank you for watching at home. Thank you, dear Andy, Kevin, and Victoria for, sharing your thoughts on a really important initiative. And exactly, Westchester County is home to a lot of immigrants. Some are undocumented, and it goes back to, the very first immigrants that came, to Ellis Island. We just want, a better life and, a fair chance. And it's kind of unfortunate, especially with the political climate now that, the other is being seen as, the enemy and so on. So, again, thank you, and definitely we will be following this. Thank you at home again for watching. Stay tuned for more of The Local Life.
I watch The Local Live so that I can ask questions about my community.
Caller, go ahead.
I watch so I can find out what's going on the go.
Because I catch up at any time, from anywhere, and see any show. Shh!
You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.
How can schools fight food waste? Here are some ideas from Manhattanville College's second annual Fall Food Justice Conference held last Saturday.
Manhattanville held its second annual Food Justice Conference last Saturday. This year's theme was Hunger, Dinner, and a Story. There were 2 panels covering how to feed the hungry and ways to reduce waste. Teaching the youth appeared to be the biggest takeaway from the conference. One example being the Grow Lincoln Park Community Garden in New Rochelle, showing children how to grow organic food.
So we're trying to teach a whole generation of young people how to become independent, how to eat healthy foods without pesticides, and we teach them about food security. And it's almost like a mantra for them. And we teach them about composting, because this is an important issue. And they see that, the children and the adults, the parents, because once you engage the children, their parents come.
Larchmont and the town of Mamaroneck were inspired by what the village of Scarsdale has done since launching its food composting program last year. Scarsdale now offers curbside pickup for composts and has even influenced its school district in the cafeteria, making children really see just how much food is wasted and how much of what is not eaten can be compostable and recyclable.
In terms of one person or 2 people making a difference, Ron and Michelle are local heroes, and maybe even beyond local heroes, but they very generously met with people in Mamaroneck, and I was one of the people, our town supervisor, and the timing was right because we had Karen Kaur and Arlene, who had read the Pope's encyclical, looking to deal with climate change, and we had our sustainability collaborative, but we had people communicating, and I really cannot underscore the importance of community here, because now we have a program. Now I think you are more successful than us because you're in the schools. And I firmly believe that we need to be doing this in our schools because kids take it home and then they teach our parents and it all works. But when we talk about 1 or 2 people making a difference, you have truly made a difference, and I thank you. I thank you.
The discussion continued over dinner using locally sourced food. The conference ended with the power of storytelling, linking the biology, education for sustainability, and creative writing programs at Manhattanville, and showing how hunger wears many faces. For The Local Live, I'm Sibylla Chipaziwa.
This week in sports, the Mamaroneck girls soccer team was locked in a scoreless game against league rival Ursuline. The Koalas threatened to score, but defender Caitlin Spiridelis was in the right place at the right time, and the LMC Varsity Sports Play of the Week.
Deutsch toward the box, and it's cleared. And it's still in the box, and they nearly score, but a great play by Spiridelis with a save on the line, as that would have been a goal, but Spiridelis cleared it as it got by Deutsch, but Spiridelis with a kick save by the defense, and it is still 0-0.
Celebrate the 20th anniversary of Hispanic Heritage Month in Westchester on Friday, October 5th at the Community Resource Center. Honduran photojournalist Tomas Ayuso will speak and refreshments will be served. For more information into RCP, visit www.crcny.org. The 11th annual Pain to Pain Trail Half Marathon is on Sunday, October 7th at 9 a.m. The race kicks off at Thomas Paine Cottage in New Rochelle and makes a giant single loop through 5 different Lower Westchester parks. For more information and to register, visit www.paintopain.com. On Wednesday, October 10th at 5:30 p.m., there will be an interest meeting for Girls Who Code, which is back at the Mamaroneck Public Library. This after-school program is open to girls in grades 7 through 12. Space is limited and participants must commit through May 2019. For more information and to sign up, visit www.mamaronecklibrary.org. Help fight Huntington's disease one step at a time by participating in Jackie's Walk for HD. The walk is Saturday, October 14th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Glen Island Park in New Rochelle. Walk organizer Gabrielle Hamilton has seen her mother, grandmother, and aunt afflicted with Huntington's, a hereditary disease that causes irreversible damage in mood, memory, and movement. For more information, visit www.hdfoundation.org. And the Larchmont Ragamuffin Parade is on Saturday, October 20th at 12:30 p.m. Participants are to meet at the corner of Larchmont and Palmer Avenues, with the parade kicking off at 1 p.m. For more information, visit villageoflarchmont.org. If you would like to see your elected officials and listen to their points of view, you can watch full interviews at www.lmctv.org. Click on the video tab and select Meet the Candidates section. We have Village of Mamaroneck Democrats, Green Party candidate New York Attorney General Michael Sussman, and Democratic New York State Senator Shelley Mayer. The fundraising drive around a mural in our town center studio continues. We plan to use the funds toward a production van, which will give LMC TV the ability to broadcast community events live, on location, and more. Thank you to all who have donated. The mural is still missing some pieces. Individuals as well as groups can help by visiting lmctv.org/communitymural.
We would like to thank local artist Jamie Lynn at Made, an art studio in Mamaroneck, for creating a beautiful community mural. Place your piece in this mural by contributing to LMC TV, the community connection that brings you local board meetings, varsity sports, and your local news. Please contribute to this community mural by going to our website and clicking on Donate. Each contributor will be listed next to the mural when it is complete. We value your appreciation of what we do. Become a single donor or as a group, go to lmctv.org. The only piece missing is you.
You can now reserve time and space to record a podcast. LMC TV staff have just launched their own LMC Cast. Have a listen at lmctv.org/podcast. You can also learn how we can help you produce your own show. Thank you to all who have expressed interest in this exciting and growing medium. There will not be a new episode of The Local Live next week, October 11th. LMC TV staff will be off to Schenectady, New York for the Alliance for Community Media Northeast Conference and Trade Show. This will give us a chance to learn more about thriving in today's ever-changing media landscape. Plus, News Director Sibylla Chipaziwa, Studio Manager Dina Schumacher, and Executive Director Matt Sullivan will be panelists in 2 workshops. Stay tuned for the show on October 18th, where we'll give you a peek into what LMC TV staff got up to at the conference. We love hearing from our viewers. Email comments, inquiries, and even news tips, pictures, and videos to locallive@lmctv.org. Remember, if you ever miss Thursday's live broadcast, you can catch replays of the Local Live twice a day on this channel and find story clips on our YouTube channel. Monday, October 8th is Columbus Day. It's also Indigenous Peoples Day, which was first celebrated in 1992. Thank you for watching the Local Live. I'm Alexandria Garcia, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good night.